Welcome to Leadership Trends and Insights. I'm your host, Nina Segura, where we create collaborative conversations to connect company cultures as well as our world community. And today I'm so excited, somebody near and dear to my heart who I kind of fell in love with the first time I heard one of her writings. And then the more I learn about you, Lori, the more I want to know more. So Lori Gallagher Witt, she's the author of over 150 LGBT romance and suspense titles. And I'll tell you more about the Ron Howard didn't write it, I did. We're going to get there for sure today. So welcome, Lori. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Lori, the reason why I wanted to reach out to you because I thought that the work you're doing is so profound and leading people forward with what they're thinking and articulating what they're thinking. And I would love to hear about what you think the world needs more now than ever as it relates to leadership.
I think there needs to be a lot more, leaders need to be aware that without the people you're leading, you're nothing. Like if you're just a leader, then there has to be people behind you, people that you're leading. And if you're stomping on them or treating them like they don't matter, then they're not going to follow you. And you're just going to be, it was actually when my husband and I were in Italy, we would see these tour guides walking around with like an umbrella with a handkerchief on it. And that's how you'd know that was your tour guide. And you basically become the tour guide walking around with your umbrella, but there's nobody behind you.
Wow, that sounds lonely.
Yeah.
This is personal for you, I think. Rick, can you share a little bit about what happened for you and why this is such a passion for you to speak about this?
As far as work related or politics?
Yeah, like, just personally too. I mean, how...
Well, I mean, I don't work for anybody now. I'm self-employed. So I know what it's like to be in a cubicle working for somebody, and I know what it's like to be working for myself. And it's given me a different look at how I was treated back then, and realizing there were people who essentially expected me to live and breathe my job. And the fact is, I'm there for a paycheck. I will walk through fire for a boss who respects me and compensates me and also understands that my job isn't my life. I called in one time and said, I'm on the side of the road. I was on my way to work, and I called in and said, hey, I am on the side of the road because I was in a car accident. And my boss's only response was, well, when are you going to be here? And there was another situation where I had to have a somewhat minor surgery, but it was painful. I really needed a day to just chill. And I was at work 2 hours after I left the doctor's office for an 8-hour shift in retail. And those were the same boss. And she was surprised when I left. When a month or two later I quit, she could not understand why. And I'm like, I have no reason to come here and work for minimum wage for you to treat me like, forget my health, forget anything else. This is where I need to be. So
a couple of things I'm hearing is the best leaders look at people and that they have stuff outside of work. It's not just work. It's not just coming and producing deliverables for me and looking at profitability for me. It's a collaborative effort of standing side by side and looking at how can we co-create something together.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, especially when you hear about people saying we need more paid vacation, we need more paid sick time, and employers say, well, why should I pay you when you're not here? And I think that comes down to this idea that the employer is doing the employee a favor by paying them to be there. And there's this disconnect where you're paying for me to be there because I'm bringing a skill or I'm bringing labor that you need. Right. And me showing up and doing the job is my part of the deal. You compensating me for that is your part of the deal. But if you actually value me as a person who's coming and doing these things and not just somebody who's filling a chair, then if I'm sick, if I have a family emergency, if I've been in a car accident, there's some give and take there. You know what I mean?
There's something that's coming up for me as you're talking about like ownership, because I have a title as a quote unquote leader. And by the way, leadership's a behavior. It's not a title, right? We know this.
Right.
There's almost like, and even with what happened with you, with your writings about being attributed to Ron Howard, there's almost something like, I will take from you as much as you will let me have. Yeah. And that's the old paradigm of leadership, where the new paradigm of leadership is, this is Lori Gallagher Witt's work, her thought leadership. Right. And I'm going to do whatever I can to highlight her, because I know that when I do, that then will I'm not doing it maybe for that payback, right? That immediate
Right.
payback, but I'm looking into the long term of getting a higher level of outcomes than just that short incremental, hey, she
Yeah.
showed up today, right? Or looking at the hours. I have somebody right now that's keeping somebody on board because this person works a lot of hours. But when we look at what are the outcomes this person's delivering, it's not really where she needs this person to be as she's thinking about growing her company. I work with mostly, business owners and business leaders who have staff. And so it also becomes the other way where leaders then become so flexible that they forget about their own, long-term plans. And I think in between those two is that collaboration that you were mentioning before about acknowledging one another's contributions and thinking about like a longer, longer view.
Well, I think also now I'm in a different role because even when I started out publishing, I was writing, basically I'd hand a book into the publisher and then they'd edit it and everything like that. But I was essentially working for them. I'm working pretty much on my own now. And I have translators, editors, and audiobook narrators, and sometimes cover artists who work for me. I hire them to do jobs. And so I'm now on the other end of it. And I see it as when they say, "Hey, I really need to raise my rates this year." I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool. You're making a living. This is your job. I'm not going to try and undercut you just because we have an existing relationship or whatever." So I have a couple of narrators who work for me almost constantly. It's a running joke that they're chained in my basement because they're constantly they finish one book and they do another one. And part of that is we have a really good working relationship. We don't treat it as them working for me. We treat it as we're working together.
Yes.
I'm the author, they're the narrator, but they're not my employee. They're not actually chained in my basement. They're doing creative work that enhances my creative work. And of course I'm going to pay them for that.
Yeah.
And if they have something come up, a health issue, a family issue, whatever, they need more time, I'm like, that's cool. I'm not going to be like, no, I don't care that you have your wedding coming up next week. Get on top of it. And I think the more I do this, the more I look back on what it was like to be an employee or watch my husband in the military and go, that's not leadership, that's management.
Yes.
And it's mostly micromanagement to the point that people just feel completely crushed and are looking for the nearest exit.
So the best leaders look at not just short-term profitability or short-term solutions, they're looking at creating a bigger vision of like, how can we win together?
Yeah, exactly. You're working together on it. It's not you're doing this for me so that I can benefit. And then when you do something for me, then I'll give you a pizza party instead of giving you a raise. I mean, those pizza parties have got to be the worst thing for morale ever. 'Cause it's like, wow, you could just pay us more, but yeah, sure.
What I hear you saying is really thinking about how am I as a leader contributing to the people around me. I'm giving them an opportunity to share their art in your way, or I'm giving somebody an opportunity to grow in my organization when I share outcomes and expectations versus just, hey, are you showing up to work today? Right? Like
exactly. I mean, management tends to be kind of, I'm going to give you a paycheck, but you're going to show up. You're going to bust your butt. You're going to do all these different things. Like it's all about me, the employee, giving to you. And then out of the goodness of your heart, you're going to give me a paycheck for it and not fire me. And that relationship, it becomes really adversarial. And basically, once I realized an employer was going to treat me that way, they got the bare minimum and they liked it. If they treated me like I was actually part of the team and that I was doing something, I would do anything for them. I'd work all kinds of overtime. I'd do all the projects that sucked. I'd do, whatever if they treated me right. But if they didn't, then forget it.
Love it. Well, thank you, Lori. Thank you for sharing your insights and your contribution to the world. The more you write, the better the world gets, in my opinion. So I look forward to hearing more from you. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe, share it with others. If you're a leader in an organization looking for personal or business transformation, schedule a success call with me. And Lori, we look forward to hearing more from you. So I know your books are coming out more and more. So we look forward to reading those.
All right.